Have you ever felt like life keeps breaking you down, no matter how hard you try? What if the answer to your deepest despair came not from words, but from watching tiny creatures most people ignore? This is the story of a broken man, a wise monk, and a mysterious task involving ants. Once upon a time, a deeply troubled man came to a Buddhist monk. His face was weary, his voice trembling. He said, "Master, I am overwhelmed with sorrow. I can't seem to make my wife, my children, or anyone in my family happy. I've failed them, and I've failed myself. There are times I don't even want to live anymore. You practice meditation and penance every day. Please, show me a way to survive this dark phase. I struggle to even arrange 2 meals a day. Life feels unbearable. Please, tell me, how can I keep going? How can I keep my family happy?" Then, after a pause, the man added with a pleading tone, "But I'm not very educated, so please, if you share advice, let it be something simple. If it's all deep philosophy, I might not be able to grasp it at all." Hearing the man's pain, the monk didn't speak at once. Instead, he smiled gently and said, "There is one thing you can do." Then he pointed toward a distant hill and said, "On top of that hill, you'll find a temple. And beside that temple, there is an ant hill where thousands of ants live. Oddly enough, these ants have ruined the temple's grounds. The soil has become barren, and not a single tree or blade of grass grows there anymore." The monk looked directly at the man and continued, "Go to that hill for 7 days. Each day, destroy the anthill. Break it down completely. Every time you see one around the temple, tear it apart. But remember this, do not let a single ant die while you do it." The man was confused. He stared at the monk, unsure of the reasoning behind this strange task. Why would the monk, who valued all life, ask him to destroy the ants' home? Wasn't this cruel? Wouldn't it harm the ants, disturb their lives? Still, unsure but obedient, he decided to follow the monk's instructions. The next morning, he made his way to the hill. There, just as the monk had described, he found a large ant hill beside the temple. As he approached, he saw countless ants moving in perfect lines, busily gathering food, tiny grains they carried with such purpose, building and storing in their home. The man stood watching, and a strange ache tugged at his heart. "These creatures are working so hard," he thought. "If I destroy their home, how devastated they'll be." But he remembered the monk's words, so, reluctantly, he began to dismantle the anthill, carefully avoiding the ants themselves. Chaos erupted. The ants ran in all directions, the neat lines scattered, their home collapsing under his hands. When the anthill was no more, the man quietly walked back home. His heart was heavy. He felt guilty, sad, disturbed. That night, as he lay in bed, his mind replayed the scene. He whispered to himself, "It's done. I've destroyed the anthill. What's the point of going back there tomorrow?" He doubted the purpose of it all. Still, a small voice inside urged him to return. The next morning, before sunrise, he climbed the hill again. And there, where the ruined anthill had stood just yesterday, he stopped, stunned. The ants were back. They had rebuilt their home in the very same place, and once again they were moving in lines, carrying food, working tirelessly as if nothing had happened. The man stared, astonished. How foolish these ants must be, he thought. They lost everything yesterday, and still they came back and built it all over again. After witnessing the ants rebuild their home overnight, the man couldn't help but chuckle, half in disbelief, half in awe. He laughed to himself, shaking his head. they did it again. Still, recalling the Buddhist monk's instructions, he took a deep breath and began the task once more. Carefully, he started to dismantle the anthill for the second time. Just like before, chaos spread. Ants ran in panic. Lines were broken, their home torn down again. But this time, he made sure to destroy it more completely, thinking, now they surely won't come back here. Before leaving, just to be certain, he poured cold water over the area, hoping it would make the ground unusable for rebuilding. He walked back home slowly, but the weight on his heart was even heavier than the day before. Doubts started to crawl into his mind like shadows. Is this really what a holy monk should be asking of someone? He wondered. Why would a wise man ask me to destroy the home of such tiny creatures? Is he testing me? Or is this whole thing some kind of cruel joke? The questions swirled in his mind until he finally fell asleep, thinking, I'll finish this task first, then I'll demand to know why. The next morning, as sunlight crept across the hilltops, he once again made his way up. This time, when he arrived at the spot where the anthill had stood, he was surprised. No anthill, no ants in sight. The area was deserted. A strange sense of victory washed over him. They've given up, he thought. They must have left for good. Convinced that the mission was now pointless, he decided to leave and report back to the monk. But just as he turned to go, something caught his eye. A small mound nearby. He walked over, and to his astonishment, he discovered a new anthill, just a short distance away from the previous one. The ants had quietly moved and built a new home. He paused, struck by a realization. Could it be? The monk knew this would happen all along. Is that why he asked me to come for 7 days? Still unsure, but driven by curiosity, he approached the new anthill. The scene felt like déjà vu. The ants were once again marching in neat lines, gathering leftover grains from the ruins of their old home, carrying them into the new one. The man watched silently, and this time his heart felt even more tender. He could relate to them. Like the ants, he too had been struggling to build a life, only to see it fall apart again and again. A wave of empathy hit him. I want to help them, he thought, but instead, I'm here to destroy their home again. Yet, remembering the monk's precise instruction, he began the task. Slowly, carefully, this time with extra attention to not harm a single ant, he started dismantling the mound. It took longer. Every motion was deliberate, and when the job was done, he felt awful. The sadness clung to him like a wet cloth. I'm a monster, he muttered to himself. A demon. What must these ants think of me? I come back again and again, never letting them live in peace. Am I really doing something meaningful? Or just playing the villain in their story? Despite the torment inside, he returned home, determined to see this through. That night, as he lay in bed, his mind echoed with a single question. What kind of person keeps tearing down another's home over and over? And yet, at dawn, he rose once again. When he reached the hill that morning, he stopped in his tracks. The ants had built another home, in a new spot. It was even bigger than the ones before, and the ants, undeterred, were bustling with more energy than ever, carrying food, working as a team. Watching the ants rebuild again, stronger and more determined, the man was left speechless. Their resilience stirred something deep within him. He stared at the tiny creatures crawling tirelessly over their new mound and thought to himself, what in the world are these ants made of? I keep destroying their homes, trying to drive them away, and yet they return, building again in the same spot. Don't they realize I'll just tear it all down again? They were so small, so fragile, yet their spirit seemed unbreakable. A mix of frustration and disbelief filled his chest. He clenched his fists and began smashing the anthill once more, this time with a surge of anger. But in his fury, his steps became careless. And then he heard it, the subtle, sickening crunch beneath his feet. He looked down and saw that he had crushed several ants. His heart sank. Suddenly, his rage turned into sorrow. A wave of guilt flooded over him. He hadn't just destroyed their home, he had taken their lives. Tears welled up in his eyes as he turned away and walked home slowly, grief gripping every step. That night, lying in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling. I've gone too far, he thought. I've become cruel. I can't keep doing this. I just can't. The next morning, he rose early. But this time, instead of going to the hill to destroy, he went with a different purpose. He took a handful of flour from his home and with a softened heart, walked back to the hill. When he arrived, he saw the ants, yet again, rebuilding. Despite all they had endured, they were back at work, carrying tiny grains, laying down paths, rebuilding piece by piece. A sense of reverence washed over him. He knelt and gently scattered the flour for the ants to eat. From that day on, everything changed. For the next 7 mornings, he climbed the hill, not with destruction in mind, but with compassion in his hands. He fed the ants with care, and each day he felt his own heart becoming lighter, his mind calmer, his spirit clearer. On the 8th day, the man went to the Buddhist monk. Folding his hands with deep humility, he said, "O wise monk, please forgive me. I tried. I destroyed the ants' home, not once, but 4 times. I followed your instructions. But then, I couldn't do it anymore. Something inside me broke when I saw their pain. I know I've failed your task. I know this means you might not teach me the way out of my own struggles. But I don't mind. I believe what I did was right. I simply wish to return home now." The monk looked at him with warmth and replied gently, "My child, where are you rushing to? Sit, have some water, rest for a while." The monk brought him a bowl of cool water. After the man had taken a few sips, the monk looked into his eyes and asked, "Tell me, why couldn't you complete the task? The ants are so small, and you so much bigger. Why couldn't you destroy their home?" The man lowered his head and spoke softly, "Oh, Master, I did destroy their home, many times. And in my anger, I even harmed them. But the day I hurt them, something changed. I asked myself, why am I doing this? Why am I inflicting pain on these innocent beings? From that moment on, I chose not to harm them anymore. Instead, I began helping them." The monk smiled deeply. "That, my son, is the lesson. Even a tiny ant can teach great truths. I never asked you to destroy their home so that you could become their enemy. I wanted you to see, to feel, to learn. So tell me, what did you learn from them?" The man recounted his journey, his confusion, his remorse, and his awakening. When he finished, the monk nodded and said, "The first lesson is this. No matter how many times you destroyed their home, they never stopped rebuilding. They never gave up. Had they given up, you wouldn't have found them there again. Life is about staying active, not giving in. But we humans, so often, we fall once or twice and lose all hope. We give up. Some even consider ending their lives." The monk's voice was calm, yet filled with meaning, as he continued explaining the powerful lessons the ants had quietly revealed. "My child," the monk said gently, "have you ever seen an animal give up on life? No matter how hungry, how wounded, or how lonely they may be, animals never take their own lives. Even when they are starving, even when they are afraid, they keep moving, keep searching, keep struggling to stay alive. They do not lose hope." He paused, then continued with a tone of quiet intensity. "But we humans, sometimes we give up after facing just a small setback, a broken relationship, a lost job, a single failure, and we begin to believe that our life has no meaning. We forget that life, by its very nature, is movement. It's meant for action. Life means effort, and death." The monk smiled faintly. "Death is the final rest. It will come to us, whether we want it or not. So why choose rest before it is time? Why stop moving when we are still alive? Why let sorrow stop us from trying again?" He looked into the man's eyes and said, "If one house falls, build another. If one dream shatters, create a new one. Keep working, keep trying. Because only those who keep trying will never truly lose. You saw this in the ants. They're so much smaller than you, yet their determination is far greater. Every time you destroyed their home, they rebuilt it. Not once did they give up. Not once did they accept defeat." Then the monk leaned forward slightly and said, "There's a second lesson you must remember. When we go through difficult times, we often feel like it will last forever, that the suffering will never end. These heavy thoughts fill our minds and crush our spirit. But remember, these thoughts are not reality. They are just thoughts. They have no true substance, no weight unless we believe in them. And it is those very thoughts that cause us to stop trying." He motioned toward the trees swaying outside and said, "Nature itself will challenge us again and again. There will be storms, losses, droughts, pain that comes without warning. But tell me, how long can nature fight a heart that refuses to break? If you rise again each time you fall, even the forces of nature will one day bow before you. Even the world will soften, become kind, and offer you what you've longed for." He gave a kind smile and said, "You saw this with your own eyes. At first, you came to destroy the ants, but over time, you began to feed them. You showed them kindness. Why? Because you saw their courage. You saw that they refused to surrender, and their spirit touched your heart." He concluded with a quiet conviction. So hold tight to these two lessons. Never stop working and never give up hope. One day, yes, one day, nature will reward you. It will open its arms and give you more than you imagined, simply because you chose not to quit. Dear friends, this story carries more than just the tale of a man and some ants. It carries a mirror for us all. If this touched your heart, please subscribe to Buddhism Seeds, hit like, share this with someone who may need to hear it, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We thank you for your support